Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. This is a live show. Sorry about the delay. I just wanted to kind of let you know what I'm doing. I've got the computer set up here just behind this engine here. I'm taking out the engine on this bike here, the Riehu Marathon. It's 125cc. If you've been watching my videos recently, you know I've been having lots of problems. I blew the engine the other day. There's a video coming out about that whole experience. And how I had to get it back home. I've taken out the engine 3 times now, stripped it down, well, the top end, because the cam chain keeps on coming off, and that's causing the problem. But it's why the cam chain is coming off. The engine is kind of struggling to rev and have power at all. Now the cam chain is off again, so I have to take the engine out just to put the cam chain back on. But it's a very tired old engine, so it's one of these Chinese engines. So I thought it'd be quite fun to do a live stream of getting the engine out, putting it on the bench here. I'll adjust the camera angle, and then you can watch along me stripping it down and seeing what I find. I think there's quite a few things loose in there, and I think there's some of it might be beyond repair, but we'll see how we go. Just to let you know, I didn't want to do a live show if you were watching my ass the whole time. So I've basically virtually taken everything off. Fuel tank, panels, most of the engine mounts. I've taken off all the hoses, all the electrical connections. I've disconnected. All I need to do now is just take off the rear engine mounts and the front engine mounts. So I'm going to try and lever the whole bike engine out and put it on the bench here. And then we'll kind of start again. So go get yourself a cup of tea or whatever, a drink. I've got one here. It is roasting hot in here, so do apologize for any sweatiness that comes across. But anyway, right. And I will try and check on the messages as I go. Metal in both legs. Hello, cheers. Hello, how are you? Good to have you here. Right, so I'm going to crack on with this. I say, get yourselves a cup of tea or whatever. Then we'll be back for the engine strip down. But I say, I'm going to just keep this running in the background for you guys, and you can be like a fly in the wall type thing. Right. Get out. Just as a kind of side, when I take out engines out of bikes or cars, I'm quite meticulous. Well, I suppose to a certain degree, of where I label everything. If it's the first engine I've ever done of a particular bike or a car, I sort of label everything, all the connectors, all the wiring harness, and all the nuts and bolts as well. After a while, if you're working on the same engines, time and time, you kind of know. You end up with jars of bolts or whatever, and you know exactly where they go. But for general stuff like, say, engine mounts, I tend to remove them, and then once I've removed the engine, I put the bolts back in the in the frame, as it were, so I know they're always there. Engine mount bolts and things like that, I tend to just take all off, and then I know where they are basically. But so some I put back in the frame so I don't lose them, and others I just sort of keep by my side. Right. Okay, so these are the front engine mounts. So if you've got the opportunity to take the whole mount out, you know, when you're working about, I would take the whole mount out, because you end up having to lever the engine casing around the mount. So, you know, you've got the bolts, take the bolts up, but actually if you can take the whole mount out, that's even, oops, couldn't get this in, that's even better for cars and for bikes. And then I say, you know, I always tend to put all the nuts and bolts back in there, so there's no risk of them being lost later, you know. Right, let me just do that one. I don't know why I'm doing this left-handed. I'm not left-handed. There we go. The joys of doing this live. Right, that goes through there. I mean, I think if this engine is completely beyond salvage and repair, because I think you got to weigh up the cost between the repair of it and the parts for it. Can you get the parts, or can you just get a brand new engine, or do you know what, not even bother with it, let, you know, bin it off to somebody else to let them have a project with it. I said, I knew when I got the bike was in a complete state. If you watch the videos on this bike, the rebuild is in a complete state. I put it all back together, cleaned it up, made it roadworthy, electrically, mechanically sound, he says, and it was running fine for the summer. When I have had time to ride it, it's absolutely fine. It's just this last time that I took it out, that's when it completely failed. I knew the engine was really tired. I could tell when I'd opened it up to change the gearbox, it was tired. It seemed quite worn. I was suspicious of the cam chain anyway. And the crank, well, it doesn't come off the crankshaft. It comes off the it comes off the, there's a, it comes off the crankshaft itself. There's a cog on it, as it were, so it comes off that, and I was suspect to see whether that had got damage on it anyway. But anyway, we'll see. But everything else was fine on the engine. It was just that. Right, let me get the rest out here. Okay, rear engine mount and bolts. Let's put all those back together. I think sometimes, you know, when you're taking engines out, it can be a really quick process. It can be a really slow process. You know, for me, no expert. I'm not a mechanical guru or anything like that. I just kind of worked on bikes and car engines and bikes for, well, yeah, look at the age of me, you know, for years. But, you know, I think possibly you always develop your own systems, don't you? And whether it's right or wrong, or whether it's the best practice, you tend to, you know, do things in your own way. And sometimes it might not be the best way or the official way. And, you know, and people watching your videos or whatever, they think, oh, what's he doing that way? But sometimes I've always said, you know, whatever works for you. And if it works, it works. You know what I mean? But there we go. Right. Check messages. No messages. That's brilliant. All right. Oh, one of these little pry bar, crowbar, whatever. I think it's always good for, you know, lifting engines, as long as you're not damaging anything, because the bolts can get stuck in there. So if you pry a little bit, it just relieves the pressure. I purposely also haven't drained the engine of any oil purposely, because I'm going to be rotating it as well, whilst it's still by hand, be rotating it and just keep everything lubed up. And then I'll show you another way of what I would do of just draining the oil as opposed to from the sump. Basically just tip the engine upside down. This works for very small engines, by the way, not big old engines, right? It's the small engines I'm talking about here. Right, let me see if I can get this out now without embarrassing myself. Probably will. He says it would help if I took the clutch cable off. Right, clutch cable off. As I say, try not to embarrass yourself when you're doing this. It would help if I disconnected the start motor. I was wondering, why am I struggling? Why am I struggling? Yes, everybody have a big laugh. I promised myself I would not hide anything. Oh, there we go. Right, so starter motor is disconnected. Oh god, I can't believe I've made a howler. There we go. Number 8. Right, let's do this again. That's disconnected. That's disconnected. Right. There we go. Isn't it funny how easy it is to take out when you actually disconnected everything? Right, that's the engine. See if I can get this a little bit closer for you all. Whoop. Put that there. There we go. Move this out of the way. Is that better? Right. That is better. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move the bike out of the way. There we go. Right. So get rid of these things. I only wear these gloves really when it's when I'm doing all the mucky stuff afterwards. I actually prefer to be without. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. You know, different people have different thoughts on them wearing gloves and that. I tend to not like to wear them because of all the, just don't get that feel. But at the same time, these surgical type gloves, they're rubbish for mechanics because they just, or mechanical work, I should say. Yeah, I'm a mechanic. They rip too easy. So you can get those black ones, which are, you know, thicker and everything like that. But there we go. Anyway, right. So this is the engine. It is. All right. Let me get my glasses. I want to just get this right. So it is FML2, yeah, FMI, I should say, FMI or L. This is it's 156 FMI 2A, and basically a Chinese engine. Probably said it before if you watch the videos. Chinese engine based on the Honda CG125. They do different variants of this. So, but this is the FMI or FML, FMI 1562A, which are basically is air-cooled overhead cam. And it's also just electric start. So I think that's what that all denotes. It's basically air-cooled overhead cam, only electric start. Right. First things first, let's take off the starter motor, which is just on this side here. So I'm going to swap all this out now. Go there. And get rid of that. There we go. We're on 8. All right. So there we go. Right. So what I'll do. All right. Rubber man it. I don't even really need this. I'm just trying to do this for effect, I suppose. Crikey. If you ever hear something drop, just stop what you're doing and go and pick up whatever it is you've dropped. Right. So this starter motor, as I said the other day, this at the end here, I was tightening it up and basically it twisted the whole bolt that goes into the base of the start motor with the cable, the wiring on the back. So I had to take the whole thing apart and resolder it in there. It's a bit of a budget job, I've got to say, but it worked again. Well, that was the main thing. I mean, if I have to do this again, you know, well, if I, you know, I think what I'd do is open it up properly, and then, you know, see what's what. Basically, open it properly, try and do a proper repair on it, not just a quick fix, and then either that or try and get it repaired properly. The problem is there's a bit of frayed wire at the base of that nut or that bolt, and then the rest of the wire is broken, but it's quite short now. So I've tried to solder it, but there's no space really to get any solder in there. But there we go. I'm gonna have to turn on a fan here, guys, because it is roasting. If I suddenly just veer off, over here. That's just to get some air on me. Actually, I don't think. Is there a way of putting? The problem is I've stolen this fan from my other half. Actually, hold on, let me. So she doesn't know I've got it, and I don't want to get it dirty. You know what I mean? Right, let me do this. Hold on. Can you see that cable? No. Okay, that's not too bad. All right. I'm wondering if you're picking up the sound. Let us know if you can hear the sound of the let me just know if you can hear the sound of the fan, by the way, if it's interfering, if it's not. John, hello. How are you? Thanks for joining. Hi, Alf. I was just wondering if a complete novice can service like myself and my bike. Yeah, anybody can. Look, servicing is quite as simple, especially if you've got an owner's manual, workshop manual. But yeah, servicing is quite straightforward, because all you're really doing, you're not usually getting into the inside of the engine. All you're doing is draining oils, changing spark plugs, sometimes changing air filters, that kind of thing. So most of the time for general service, you're not. Now, if you're having to do like a service interval change, like say reset your valve timing, that kind of thing, yeah, that might require a bit of extra knowledge. But if you've got a workshop manual, especially for the engine and the motorcycle that you're running, then you should be fine. There we go. What would you recommend? Going to a college course about motorcycle maintenance? Yeah, I tell you what, there's no harm in that. There's no harm in that. But I also think, you can do a lot of self-study of just getting in there, getting your hands dirty and see what's what. But before you do anything, get yourself whatever bike you've got, get the owner's and workshop manual for it. Okay, then read. Then see if you can ask around, see if anybody knows how to do, they service their own bike, and then ask them. Just ask people, asking people what you can do, what you can't do, and the best way to go about things is the best way. Right, let me crack on. There we go. Right, so starter motor off. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just take off the head here and see what's what. The chain tensioner is there. Basically, you got the crank there. Got the cam chain that comes up through here. There's the overhead cam there, and the cam chain tensioner is there. So I know it's spun off. So what I'm going to do, just have a look here at the inlet. The timing covers here. I'm just gonna. I'll tell you what I am going to do is get my trays all ready here. Have some kind of trays all laid out so you can put all the parts on that you need. Get rid of that. Okay, right. Quickly. It does help if you've got all these nice and clean as well. And the last thing you want to do is start introducing, dirt into it and motorcycle parts and all that sort of stuff. As you can tell, I'm not using anything special here, just some foil trays I snagged from a kitchen supply. It's really just to rest the parts down, and hopefully they won't get too dirty. Right. Okay. Right. Let's take this off. So I know there is a sequence here, and basically you've got these small valve cover bolts. You take those off first. There we go, like that. I'm going to put them in the tray where I've got more. I'm going to put all the valve stuff on there. These are valve cover access. So basically what I'm going to do is just loosen those off first of all. Oh, yeah. Bugger. There's one. Not taking them off, just loosening them off. That's the beauty of having this kind of wooden box. Just 4 bits of wood screwed together, about 10 inches, 12 inches apart. It's a good cradle for the engine, would you believe? Right, anyway, so top end here. Is this? I can't remember if it was 12. It's a 12, I think. Yeah, okay, let's just do 12. Yeah. Right, so this, what you don't want to do is just release all one bolt at the same time, because you can start warping things a little bit. So just, you know, break it, then break it, you know, each one like that, and just keep on going round. So it's undone evenly. And you'll see when they're all loose, then there's no pressure on any of them. And then you can just take them off individually. But, you know, again, a workshop manual will give you a sequence to follow. There we go. As I say, I'm putting all of this in one tray, which I know is just for the they got these little washers on here. Just make sure I don't lose those. There we go. Right, that's all done. That's all done. Right, so take off this timing cog chain inspection cover as well. There we go. It comes off. So what I'll do, put the bolts in there as well, so I know where they are. I'm just going to rotate the engine here. So hopefully, I'm going to try and bring this a bit closer for you as well. So that's that. That's that. Oh, you bugger. That's I don't know. The thread is just cool. Yeah, that's knackered. All right. Okay, so on this engine, you've got the crank at the bottom, and you rotate the crank here. This is actually loose here, and I could feel something spinning before, so there's something not quite right there. And then you got a timing mark there, which you rotate the crank. You'll have a mark on there, and you correspond it with the timing cog up here as well. Again, every bike is different, and every manual is different as well, or every engine is different. This particular engine, the markings weren't visible. There are no visible markings, so you kind of have to go by what you think is right. And I say they're terrible manuals. It's a Chinese engine. They're rubbish, put it that way. Anyway, so I know this is all. If I just rotate this round, I'm kind of doing this just to show you all. Get rid of that. Add a bit of that. Is that gonna? There we go. So if I do this, can you hear that spinning? Whatever it is, that's not right. It shouldn't be like that. So that's why the whole thing is coming apart. And we'll see what's what. I've got a feeling that the bolt there has sheared in the end of the crank. So it's either going to have to be retapped and a new bolt in there, and that's affecting everything. It's letting it all slip. I've got a feeling it's all slipping. So we shall see. We shall see what's what. Right, let's put that there. There we go. Right. We'll take that off. There we go. Right. There doesn't seem to be any damage here. These are the rockers there. Okay, here's your valves there as well. The valves have already, the last when I first stripped it down, when I first got it, I took the whole engine apart. I reset the valves, so I'm confident the valves are okay. It's whether, so you can see right now this is pulling on here on the cam, so that's because I haven't released the tension on the cam chain tensioner, which is there. Let me just dry my hands off here. Just gonna undo that tension. Take that out. There we go. So that's all released now. And basically all the cam chain, let me take it out and I'll show you. The cam chain tension, all it is, it's a thread and onto a bar. It's kind of spring loaded that pushes onto a guide that pushes against the chain, so it tightens it up. Right, take that out. Cool. Right, so basically there it is. That's a cam chain tensioner. If I've wound it all in, but you can see there it's all, so if I rotate this and back, I've got oil on my hands now, hold on, you lock it in place there, and then once you've set everything, you push this back in, you tighten up the bolts into the engine casing, and then basically just release it. There we go, and it pushes against the guide there, and it tightens up the chain to the correct chain tension that it should be. Right. They kind of all work in a similar principle, all chain tensioners. If you've got, if you've got an overhead cam, that is, of course. Right. Okay. Right, so that's that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take off the cam chain. Basically, I'm just going to take the whole engine apart here. There's no point in me messing around with it. I'm going to see exactly what's what, why this is spinning. There's noise coming from there, spinning around. I'm going to have a look at this cam as well, and see what's what. Then we'll take the head off, have a look at the underside, see what that's like as well, and take it from there. Right. Let's do that. There's another So on this particular engine, you've got cylinder head bolts that come all the way from the engine casing, come all the way up, the base I should say, come all the way up, and everything slides onto it, and you just got nuts on top of it. Other types of engines, you've actually got bolts that go down. It really depends on the type of engine that you've got, and you know, that kind of thing. But when you look at them, they're all much of a muchness, if you know what I mean. They all work on the same sort of principle. All right. 10. Take that off. Take that off. So the tension has been released on the chain. The cog needs to come out and the cam needs to come out. This is just like a bearing on the other side. I'll take that there for now. There we go. The cam comes out. Just pop that there for now. Then, now if you were just doing top end work, what you would do, you would get, you know, a hook or, you know, a coat hanger. I've got it there hanging up now. It's a bit hard for me to reach, but you would just keep this up there like that. And you see now this has actually come off. This is spinning freely and it's come off the crank at the bottom. So do you know what? But because I'm going to open everything up, I'm just going to let it run down. But if you were just doing the top end, you would hold it up and keep it taut so it wouldn't go down. Right. So this is the timing gear. Nothing wrong there. That bearing surface is it's all fine. Actually in here, that all looks okay. So the cam itself, here there's quite a bit of degradation there, but most of the wear, most of the running on this is actually on this side here, and it's only operating these rockers here. So actually I don't really have an issue with that cam, the way it looks there. It's a bit pitted. It's a bit pitted. But apart from that, and that bearing is still absolutely fine. So there isn't anything there. That is a bit scored right at the end. As I say, it's a very tired engine. So this cam, you know, if you really want to be right about it, you would say, well, replace the cam. Okay. But anyway, let's pop that there. Give that a bit of a mop, and away we go. What I tend to do, this is not my way. It's not the best way, of course. I'm definitely not suggesting anything like that at all. Hold on. I tend to try and clean up as I go along, and that kind of makes it makes everything work a little bit better, right? And also, you know, if you've got a clean workspace and you're trying to prevent any dirt getting in there, you know, if you're doing a full engine strip down, I suppose you could argue it doesn't really make any difference, because guess what, you know, you're going to clean everything anyway. But if, you know, I think it's just good practice to try and keep everything clean as possible. Keep your hands, you know, clean as well, wherever you can. And you know, so here, for example, those two nuts, again, because I got distracted talking to you guys, I broke my own rule of not, you know, putting all the bolts back together so everything is complete. So when you've got it in a tray, you're not searching around for the right parts. You're not losing parts. Right. Take off this top end here. There. Have a look at the underside there. Yeah, I mean, they are coked up a little bit. You got the inlet valve, the exhaust valve. Let's have a look there. See that's all crunched. Yeah, because you got the inlet there, and that's a bit coked up a little bit. The exhaust valve, I can't really see in this light. There doesn't seem to be anything to be concerned about there. Standard stuff, right? pop that down there. Sunday gasket there. Okay, this is one of the guides here for the cam chain. No problems with the surfaces here. No gouges or anything like that. As you can see, I'm just sort of cleaning it up as I go along. Okay, take off the cylinder head. Have a look at the cylinder. Cross hatch, yeah, there's no cross hatch. It probably could be honed again in different oversized pistons and all that sort of stuff. But there's nothing, no damage in there or anything like that. So let's have a look at this piston. Again, no damage on the piston at all. The rings all look intact. No breakages in the pistons. Yeah, a bit of coking on the top there. Yeah, I think the piston definitely needs a good looking over. Right. So the next thing to do then is start taking the casings apart and see how we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the piston off first of all so we don't damage anything. There is a little circlip here. I'm just going to put a bit of tissue down there just so I don't completely screw this up. Okay. Got a pick somewhere. I don't know where to put it. Nope. I do have a pick somewhere. Aha. There we go. Here's my picks. Right, so there's a little circlip ring and there's a pin, bolt pin that goes through there. So basically I can push that out now and just put that down. I'm doing this from the wrong angle. Sorry guys, hold on. Let's do this. Let's see what I'm doing now. Look at this one. Right, there we go. You can see the piston there, the pin, gudgeon. I call them gudgeon pins. I don't know, piston pin. I don't know what they're called. I keep on forgetting. And there. I mean, it's again, it's not damaged or anyway. It's cool. It's a bit of a tight fit. I'll give it that, but it's not damaged or anyway. And the connecting rod, piston rod, it's not damaged as well. And there's going to be a tolerance. There's going to be a spec to see. I mean, I've got a feeling this whole engine is out of spec anyway. It's very worn. But do you know what? Let's put all this back in here. Let's take that out. Any comments? No, good. I say, just for those of you just started joining, basically I took the engine out of the bike. This is a 125 engine. I'm doing a live dismantle just to see what the hell's gone wrong with this engine, basically, because as the base gasket, it's basically screwed. It was just losing power, very difficult to rev. Then it just blew up on me. Lots of horrible noises. Stripped it out a couple of times, put it all back together. It started up okay. Then all of a sudden, about a minute or so later, then it just started really having difficulty in revving, and then the cam chain just came off the crank again as well. So it's not necessarily there's a problem with the crank or the cam chain, but why is it not revving properly? Now, I've just rotated the crank before I start splitting it apart, and there's something really loose in here that's spinning around freely, which should not be freely. So something is not right. I've got a feeling that this could be the end. The end is nigh, as it were. Right. Let's just see now. If I take this off. There we go. Right. I'm going to do this in a very unconventional way. I'm going to drain it of oil. And basically, because it's a light engine, I'm just going to tip it upside down. If I can. Oh, yeah. There you go. Here's my oil tray. There we go. Just getting most of the oil out. There you go. Blimey. That'll do. Yeah, having a quick look at the oil. I mean, it's hard to put this on camera, but yeah, it's a bit discolored. I wouldn't say there's any sort of metal fragments or anything in there. And so the reason why I've done it this way, because I know I'm splitting the engine down, so I'm not really that fussed about having a look at the engine. The engine oil, I should say. Right. Let me just dump this oil first of all. Yeah, there's quite a lot of crap in there, I've got to say. Yeah, right. That's my waste oil drum. Okay. Yeah, this live stream is sponsored by Blue Roll. Blue Rolls are us. Right. Let's wipe that. There we go. All right, get rid of that. Okay, so we know the engine's shagged pretty much, right? So just having a look to see now, why is it shagged pretty much? So let's just do one side at a time, see how we go, right? Okay, so we'll take off this side first of all. Again, so this is why I got all my trays all laid out, so I can put everything in there and I'm not messing around with losing parts afterwards. bugger. There we go. Right. This is a starter gear, basically. There's a washer. So it's starter gear, washer. So put all that upside down in the tray. So I'm not going to lose it. Right, so that's all done there. That's all done there. You can see that's all rotating. So from that point of view, yeah, something's not right in the state of Denmark, that's for sure. Right, let's take this casing, side casing off. See how we go. And again, to prevent any warpage, you just take everything in a star pattern and just work yourself around the engine. Right. Take off the wiring here. Take off the wiring there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you can use cardboard cutouts, of course, you know, just so you know, remember where all the bolts go. But I personally, I've stripped this engine down a lot of times, so I know where these bolts go. But there we go. That there. Pop that there. Gasket. Take this gasket off. Just be very careful not to break it because it is a decent gasket. Right. This is a starter gear there. It all works. Right, let's go here. Take off this flywheel magneto cover, whatever you want to call it. There. I've got a feeling this bolt here is the end of the crank isn't quite right. It's hard to say, really. Okay, so we're going to take this off. And this is where you need a special tool to take all this off. Right. So it's, can't remember which one it is. It's either that one, or that one. One of these. Yeah, that's it. Threads over the top here. You wind it over the top. There's an outer thread here, so you got this puller, winds over the top, then the center part will push down on the center. All I need to do now is, let's see if that's going to be wide enough. Nope. So that's that. Tighten it down and it will eventually just pop this off. It should pop the whole lot off at the same time. Right. Tell you what, let me do this another way. Hold on. I'm going to pull. Instead of pulling it all off as a one, I'm going to pull it off in sections. There we go. Let's do this again. Yeah, bugger. I haven't got the purchase here. Hold on. Hands are all oily. Lovely. Hi, I'm you and I have plenty of questions to ask you. Hope you don't mind. Yeah, please ask away. No problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, learn as you go along. Definitely learn as you go along. You know, and you'll find that once you start opening up engines, and you know, you don't have to work on an engine that you are that you own, as it were. That's part of your bike. You can get any old engine just to get the basics, you know, run the basics basically. Why is that? Oh, you bugger. And that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. It suddenly gives. God, what a pain in the backside that was. God, crikey. Right. Okay. So basically, that's what I've just pulled off there. And you basically screw this puller on the outside of the thread, and you screw that inner part down, and it pushes down on the shaft here of the crankshaft, and it basically acts to pull this away. The problem is that was a sod, basically. They are notorious for being either really easy to come off or a pain in the backside to come off, that's for sure. Right, what I'm going to do, let's trying to pull this puller off now. So I'll do, I'll sort that out afterwards. Did I put Loctite in on this one? Yeah, I put Loctite ever on the engine, yeah, the first time around. So that wasn't the issue. There's something not quite right. I've got a feeling there's damage to that. It seems as if that bottom cog is worn. Definitely seems as if that bottom cog is worn. Let's have a look here. Can't really show you, I'm afraid, but Okay. So let's take this cam chain out. So if I just put that to one side, if I can show you here, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to try and show you as best I can. Right. So, crankshaft here, and that that bolt goes into there like that. I think when I've tightened it up the first time on the rebuild, I think I've actually de-threaded it, because that just went all the way around. Let me see if I can check this out and see if it works. There we go. Let's just see what happens here. I've got a feeling this is what's happened. Yeah, that shouldn't be going all the way in like that. Okay, no, that's... So I'm just wondering if this bolt I'm just wondering whether this bolt here, because it's not threaded all the way and it just catches at the first part of the thread in there, whether it's de-threaded there. I think it might have stripped in there. That's what's causing the problem. As I spin this around here, the crank, there isn't actually anything wrong with it. There's no play in this at all. No play in the piston rod. That's a bit of a bugger, actually. Why is that? Any suggestions, guys? Any suggestions? I'm going to try and go through the comments here as I can. So yeah, I don't know why this engine, because from that point of view, gearbox is all okay. There's no problems with the gearbox, because I put the crankshaft and everything from that side and this side is all working fine. So unless the problem was this kind of magneto area here, or this flywheel, I should say, that's causing issues, I don't know. So at this point, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to strip it down anymore, because I honestly don't believe that the problem is in there. I think the problem is from this point here. It's either slipping on this point here or slipping off this gear. These got two gears here, and it's either slipping on these gears, which is causing the problem when when putting everything back together. It's a very tired engine. All new bearing. When I stripped it down, had all new bearings, so there's no issues there. All the seals are all done, so there's no issues there. I think the best thing to do you know what? Is just bit of a difficult one here. I've got bloody oil everywhere. There's me going on about being tidy, and look at me, I'm messiest one out. I'd really love one of those review channels to review my video, my motorcycle engine rebuilding videos, and or live streams, and mock what I'm doing or pick apart, because you know there's like a million things I could say already. But anyway, listen, I think sometimes I say, you know, if it's, to answer the questions from before, you know, it is about just getting manuals, workshop manuals, and just opening things up and just having a go and seeing what you can find. The problem is it's not necessarily replacing parts like for like. The problem is actually diagnosing what could be the problem. So here I've got a problem to say why is that engine just not revving properly? And the only reason that it's not revving properly, it's got to be a timing issue. It's either a timing issue or it's, but I don't understand why that's causing the cam chain to slip off. So I'm looking at the cam chain, so I'm looking here, and I think this is where it's worn out. This is where I think I need a new crankshaft, possibly, because those gears look quite rounded off to me. I mean, it's not so severe, but they look a little bit rounded off. None are broken. What do we reckon? What do we reckon? New engine, new crankshaft, or put it back together and one last time and see what happens? I'm kind of undecided. I was prepared for this whole live stream to strip the whole thing down because I thought it might be the crank shaft itself, but I don't think it is. That's the problem. I just don't think it is. Everything seems to be, there isn't any play, there isn't any noise, there isn't any grinding. It shouldn't be because it's got brand new bearings, right? There isn't any lateral play in the piston rod, the conrod, you know, it's connector rod, the conrod, whatever you want to call it. There's no play there at all. Nothing. There's nothing there. Let's have a look here. Hold on. Let me just make sure that the gears are engaging. Yeah. 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 Third. Fourth. Fifth. Fourth. Third. Second. Whoops. Neutral. And first. Yeah. Yeah, there's neutral. Right. So gearbox and everything, that the all from the other side is absolutely fine. No, gears are all good. Yeah. Need to establish a clam gear hasn't slipped on the crank. would make the chain come off. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking at that, Morris, as well. I'm thinking that's where it is. I'm thinking there's a cam chain tension issue, which there shouldn't be. There's the cam chain issue. It's either slipping at the bottom here, which is causing periodic slack in the cam chain, and then that's causing the timing to go out. So it was running fine, and then obviously this problem here has caused the cam chain to cause the timing gear to go out. So it's kind of moving off the cam. You know, it's changing it slightly, so it's not working properly. There we go. I don't need to answer that. I don't know who that is. Right. Oh, sorry about that. All right. Okay. So all I can say is, right, I'm going to basically put this back together, I suppose. Let's see how we go. What time is it? How long have I been doing this? Oh, an hour and 12. Well, what should we do? Should we put this back together? See how we go? Do you know what I think I want to do? I'm going to go through everything here, make sure that I'm happy with everything. I'm going to clean up this piston as well. There's nothing wrong with the piston itself and everything. I'm just going to check all the gaps and make sure that's all okay as well. And then I think I'll put it back together. But I think I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll leave the live stream for now, and then I'll come back another time and I'll show you what I've done. I might do another live stream tonight, guys, but nothing to do with this. Purely about a general chat about different stuff that I'm thinking about. Anyway, but I'll let you know. I'll let you know how I feel about that. But later on. But listen, that's basically what happens. You split an engine apart. You try and diagnose what the problem is. And, you know, diagnosis for me, again, no expert. I'm not a mechanical guru or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination. For me, it is just a process of elimination. You know, unless you see something that obviously is broken, then you just replace it, right? But then it's a case of going through the engine, seeing what the specification should be, the tolerance should be, and then seeing, you know, by a general feel if anything is really loose, so on and so forth. And then you take it from there to see if anything needs changing, as I say. But I went through this whole engine before, so from the bottom end here, I'm happy that I think it's absolutely fine. I think this is from the drive from the crank here up to the top end, which is causing the problem. But then it's causing so much strain on the engine, it's causing this to strip, to come off the chain here as well. So let me put all this back together, guys, and see you on another live stream, and maybe on another day, another dollar, as it were. But anyway, listen, I'm going to try and get this color off because it seems to be jammed on there. Like a bit of a pain. The only problem is you've got oily hands. You're trying to get, you know, something oily off something that's oily, if you know what I mean. But anyway, listen, thanks for that. Thanks for joining the live stream. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you've you know, I wouldn't say you learned anything, crikey, but you can see, you know, how I do it. You know, basic block of wood, start stripping everything off, trying to keep everything in some kind of order so you know where you put it. If you've never done this before, make sure you just label and take loads of photos or loads of video or something like that. Just, you know, it never hurts, you know, with your phone or whatever. Just keep on taking loads of photos before you undo anything, so at least you know where the marks should be or where the positions should be and everything like that. Right, anyway, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you, but I'll tell you what, let me just keep this running for a little bit longer so you can have a laugh at me trying to undo this, trying to take this this bloody colour off. I don't know why it's decided to be the vein of my life, but there we go. Right, let me just try this again. do apologise for swearing. I didn't mean to. Yeah. I think I've got it. I think I've got it. You see? Okay, so that's that. There we go. Whew, I thought that was stuck on there. Ta-da! There we go. And just to prove that I'm not a complete numpty, it's all come off. So there we go. That all looks good there. Right. Time to go, I think. Time to go. Put everything away. Tidy up. Go and have a cup of tea, I think. But so put that. Just trying to catch anything. Thank you. Thank you. Nice one. Thanks very much. I wish I know how to pronounce Wojciech. Thanks for joining. John, very interesting. Thank you. As I say, you know, I could, you know, carry on and put everything back on, but do you know what? Because I want to check all the specifications, you know, this could make it a really long live stream. So I'll tell you what, I'll just end it now and I'll join you for another one. But thanks for joining. Thanks for your comments. And hopefully, well, you're watching, keep on watching the videos. So I'll catch you again. Ta-da.